14th day of Tingemas. 14 examiners, 13 grade 9s, 12 pens writing, 11 English classes, 10 red pens, 9 key concepts, 8 literary devices, 7 teachers teaching, 6 rhyming couplets, 5 war poems, 4 highlighters, 3 post-it notes, 2 mock exams, and a poetry anthology. Hello and welcome back to Tinged as Literature. Today is the penultimate episode of Tingemas, so enjoy it while it lasts, and in day 14 we're going to be checking out my history, as it were, with the poem Checking Out Me History. Let's begin by reading through the poem. Dem tell me, what dem want to tell me. Bandage up me eye with me own history, blind me to me own identity. Dem tell me 'bout 1066 and all that. Dem tell me 'bout Dick Whittington and he cat. But Toussaint Louvier, no dem never tell me 'bout that. Toussaint, a slave with vision, lick back, Napoleon, battalion, and first black. Republican born, Toussaint de Thorn. To the French, Toussaint de Bicon. Of the Haitian Revolution, dem tell me 'bout the man who discovered the balloon, and the cow who jumped over the moon. Dem tell me 'bout the fish ran away with the spoon, but dem never tell me about Nanny de Nanny, sea far woman, of mountain dream, firewoman struggle, hopeful stream, the Freedom River. Dem tell me 'bout Lord Nelson and Waterloo, but dem never tell me about Shaka the Great Zulu. Them tell me about Columbus in 1492, but what happened to de Cabrice and Orkwood's too. Dem tell me about Florence Nightingale and she lamb, and how Robin Hood used to camp. They'll tell me about old King Cole, was a merry old soul, but them never tell me about Mary C. Cole. From Jamaica she travels far to the Crimean War. She volunteered to go, and even when the British said no, she still braved the Russian snow. A healing star amongst the wounded, a yellow sunrise to the dying. Dem tell me, what dem want to tell me. But now I checking out me own history, I carving out my identity. Now let's analyse some key parts of the poem. Firstly, repetition of them tell me suggests a constant barrage of learning without insight of what we're really learning about. Blind me is a restrictive verb that creates an idea that all versions of events that are given within the poem are harmful and negative. Dick Whittington and the cat shows facts and fiction are mixed to create a sense of confusion. No dem never uses the pronoun dem to represent a faceless body with a general dislike for authority. The short verse and irregular rhyme in this section creates an almost drum beat that reflects Caribbean traditions of music and storytelling. The cow who jumped over the moon juxtaposes myth and reality and shows how both have the same relevance to culture and heritage. Rhyming between spoon and maroon helps build a sense of rhythm within the poem. Freedom River is powerful natural imagery that suggests the power of the figure and gives cultural emphasis to how we look at our own. A contrast is made between figures of ethnic minority and famed figures to emphasise the one-sided nature of our education. The use of Robin Hood shows inaccurate terms being used to emphasise the lack of interest taken in history. Russian snow is natural imagery that allows historical characters to become more vivid and clear, and appear more passionate. And finally, carving is a violent metaphor that expresses the resistance we need to create something that cannot be removed. Now let's analyse the theme of the poem. The poem looks at racial integrity and history, both being important to the poem, and the poet also writes with a phonetic style to capture their voice and create tone, which emphasises his Caribbean origins. Conflict occurs when we see the contrast with what we are taught and what we are not, and the nature of the characters and history involving being conflict and the conflict of the victor, whom we remember and those we do not. The poet is also at conflict with dem, or the fact and fiction, to emphasise the conflict in its own identity. Well, that's it for this video, and in fact the penultimate edition of Tingemas. Now don't forget to come back tomorrow. It's not the penultimate one. I've realised I've been wrong in the introduction, but let's continue. Come back tomorrow and you'll have the penultimate edition of Tingemas. See you then.